is based on a course by Barbara Oakley. It is available on Coursera and it is a free course. So it is very famous. I think it's worldwide famous and about 7 languages translation is there on Coursera and they are working on other languages. Unfortunately, they don't have any Indian languages covered yet. Maybe in future they will cover at least Hindi or some other language. So it is very important and very useful course. And she has actually done a lot of experiment and lot of scientific evidence. She has covered in the course. So it is a 1 week course, but I will try to cover in about 45 minutes. So I cannot claim that in 45 minutes you will become expert. However, you will get a flavor. And if you are interested, you can always go to the Coursera and complete the course and you will learn in depth. So with this, let me start. So idea is very simple. First, we have to learn the learning process. Okay. So essentially, we have to understand our little bit of our brain, how it learns, how the ideas are captured and processed, how it is stored in memory, and what are the factors that affect your memory, and what are the techniques through which you can actually improve the memory. And actually, learning in general, for the most part of our life, learning is required to reproduce the learning content. Basically, whenever we go in some exams and test, so we are required to reproduce what we have learned. So that is the basic idea. So essentially, after learning, we should know how to reproduce. Basically, you have to store in memory, and if someone asks, you should be able to answer the questions. So if you are able to do that, then essentially you are able to pass that particular exam. And if you are do this best, you will be topper. So with that sense, essentially, if we can master the technique, then we can learn the subject in the least amount of effort, and also we can learn a lot of subjects, and essentially will become a knowledgeable person. So that is the bottom line. So now starting with this, what are the different factors? We will focus on this part, how learning, know the learning process, essentially starting from human brain, and different techniques we will cover. So what are the essential elements of learning? So basically the entire learning process we will cover into different aspects. For example, these two modes, diffuse mode and focused mode. And then we'll discuss something about memory. And there is a very strong connection of memory with sleep. So we'll try to understand, there are scientific evidence how sleep helps in memory. And this technique, chunking techniques, how to learn very complicated thing in a very systematic way. So this technique is called chunking. So we'll understand that. And practice makes person perfect. So how to practice? There are so many ways to practice, but what are the very effective ways to practice? So if you learn that effective way, essentially we can do practice in less amount of time and effort, and with a better outcome. Then we'll talk about two behavioral aspect, that is addressing mistakes. So everyone commits mistake, but how to minimize that? Some technique around that. And one very famous, you can say very common behavior, that is called procrastination. So it is everywhere. Everyone does that, but in some time it so happens it becomes very dangerous. So how to avoid that? And what are the technique to take care of procrastination and overcome this problem? So we'll learn that also. So starting with learning. So the learning, basically in the human body, the learning part is the part of the body which is responsible part for this particular aspect is brain. So our brain is highly complicated thing. And you may know that although it is size is very small, but it is very complicated, and it governs the entire body the functions of the body, including conscious or unconscious behavior that we have. And one fact about brain is it is about 1.36 kg, that is 360 grams. But it consumes energy about 10 times of the different other part of the body. So essentially, brain consumes a lot of energy. For those people who are doing something which is require a lot of thinking and so on, you will see that they lose weight like anything without much physical activities. And otherwise also, if you are not well, you are not healthy, then your brain is going to be slow and it will not function properly. That's why one saying is there, healthy brain in healthy body, and that is actually because of this fact only. So brain consumes a lot of energy, and it is very, very complicated. Very few things are understood till now. People are still doing research how brain learns and so on. So let me introduce one concept which is called pinball game. This concept is just to simplify the learning process, because brain is really complicated, and understanding the brain in terms of actually how it is very difficult. So what we will do, just to make things very simple to understand, we'll take this example. So there are three major things here in this pinball game. One is a knob, this knob. So the function of the knob, this knob, is essentially once you press, then this particular ball, it gets thrown because of a spring force. So there is second part is the ball itself, and there are these pegs. So these pegs are again they are kind of a spring kind of material. So when ball comes and hits the peg, it again bounces back. So it will keep on bouncing back, and then once it comes to the bottom, again you press the knob. These two things will throw the ball away. So so this is the pinball game. Now the analogy of the brain, how we try to understand. The knob is essentially something which is external. So all the senses like eye, ear, everything is this knob. So our thought enters through our senses. Okay. Now, once our thought enters into the brain, then the pegs, you can imagine something you already know. Okay, some thoughts that is already there in the brain with some ideas. And the ball is something new. So you have seen something new. Now, as soon as you see something new and experience something new, it actually tries to connect with the already existing thoughts that is there in the brain. So the analogy is the ball is bouncing, and it will bounce everywhere. I mean, there is just random, there is no pattern there. So so essentially this bouncing of the ball, it will keep on connecting to different thoughts, and if it creates something meaningful, essentially that is the idea. So then thoughts plus connection. So those pegs are basically different thoughts, and this connection between those pegs, it will create an idea. So that you can say thought pattern. So essentially, if your thought pattern is very, very systematically connected, it means you know the subject in a very, very in-depth manner. And if the connection is loose, it is just random, it means there is a vague idea about the subject. So when we are in the focus mode, okay, then we force the ball to restrict in a certain region. And if it is a diffuse mode, then we just allow the thoughts to flow. That's how people say in a minute you get so many thousands of thoughts in your brain. Essentially, your thoughts, they keep on connecting each other in a very random way, and all possible connection gives you new idea. So so that's how this diffuse mode and focus mode concept is there. So if your connections are very, very random, there is no pattern there, it is called diffuse mode. And if the connection is very, very systematic, so this is called focused mode. So so what is the difference between the two and how it is actually helping us? and which one is important and so on. So we'll try to understand that. So let us talk about the focus mode first. So you can see the focus mode, basically the thought process is very, very systematic. There is no randomness in the thought, and that is called expertise. So someone is talking in a very, very pure grammatical English. It means all the connection between two words and the way they need to come out, their order and so on, it is very, very precise. If someone is talking in a random way and the grammar is not accurate, it means their connection is loose, and the preposition, the articles, then different verbs and nouns, they are not coming in a proper way. So that's how we say the grammar of this person is not that good. And if it is like very, very systematic, then we'll say this person is having very good English and so on. So essentially, having expertise means having thoughts, very, very ordered connection of the thoughts, and that thought may be very narrow, meaning you know something, about something in a very small manner, but whatever you know is very precise. And if you are really having experience on something and you know a lot of things, so basically your connection will be huge, and all of them will be very, very systematically connected. That's how we call this person is experienced in certain things. So this makes the person expert. And this person, the diffuse mode, here it is like, if you talk about all the connections, then you will see like the person is actually, he's mad, and he's talking nonsense. However, from the nonsense, you will get like something, everything is new. Whether it is making new nonsense or not, it is a different idea, but it is making everything new. And if that new thing is also trying to start making some sense, basically that is a new idea. And then the beauty of this diffuse mode is essentially new idea is basically invention. You are coming up with a new way of doing things, whether it is solving the same problem in a different method, or you are using the same existing techniques to solve some other problem, or you have same resources, but you are able to create a new product out of it. So then this comes from this diffused mode. Basically, your wild thoughts can result into new ideas and inventions. So these are the some features of they are broad, conceptual, meandering, strategic, uncover meaning and connections. So here, if the focus mode is having these features, like they are narrow and targeted, methodological, tactical, and necessary for deep work. So both of them has got different virtues in it. This is also important. That is also important. However, when we learn something, we have to use both the modes. So I will give one example, very, very simple example, just to highlight why if you're an expert, you need to know all the connection in a very, very precise manner. And if your thoughts are wandering from one to other, you are going to commit mistakes. And as soon as you commit the mistake, you are going to get wrong results. So for example, this is a simple question, and all four students, assuming that these four students are the sample students, and they are trying to solve this question, and they have solved this question in a 4 different way. So if you talk about the solution 3 and solution 4, at this step, in case of solution 3, step 2, and in case of solution 4, step 1. This is the step after which the student has committed mistake. And the mistake is basically conceptual. Here you have to multiply 2 with 12 as well as with 6. But the student missed this particular multiplication and actually done this and then went ahead. Similarly, in this case, the order should be like you multiply first and add after that. So this concept is missed. Basically, the student was not very precise on this, whether I need to address plus first or multiplication first. That focus was not very, very precise. And as a result, the student simply took the plus first. And there is a very good chance the same student, since the connections are loose, next time the student may try multiplication first, because he is not very precise onto the steps. So sometimes the student will do the things right, and sometimes it will do the student will do wrong, and it will keep on happening without he realizing that he is actually wondering between this particular concept, whether plus should be first or multiplication should be first, until unless one new connection saying if you are having these two signs, multiplication and plus sign, then you have to address multiplication first. This particular knowledge, until unless it is not there, this will keep on happening. So this is one example, like how a very precise corrections of things is important in order to become an expert in a subject. So just to again emphasize what is the focused and diffuse mode. Here the diffuse mode thoughts are whatever. So these entire, you can imagine, in a given brain, in a given person, whatever kind of thoughts he is having. So thoughts will be like whatever, everything, your personal experience from birth till today, whatever you have read, whatever you have experienced, everything is there in the brain. Now your connection is essentially you are moving. Maybe you go to your childhood and come back to your adulthood and then so on. So it will travel everywhere in a random way. That is your diffuse mode. And the focus mode is essentially you are focusing in a very narrow region, and you want your brain to not move away from that. Okay, that's what we say as a concentration. In a classroom, his teacher say that you are not putting your concentration, or someone said my concentration is weak and so on. So essentially when we say all these things, we are trying to our brain to around certain thing. We don't want it to go away from that. For example, if you're talking about mathematics and plus operations, you don't want your brain to go into history and say that, okay, Red Fort was made by Akbar. So that particular thought process should not come here while you're talking about mathematics. So essentially you are trying to focus your thought process in a certain region and trying to create a very strong connection by continuously putting your focus onto that particular region. So as you focus on a region and you try to make strong connections and relationship between two thoughts, you are actually trying to become expert in that particular area. So as you keep on doing your experience, your practices, your exercises, you are actually keep on making your connection again and again. So more the exercise, more the connection. As the strong connection you have, you do not forget, you do not commit mistakes. And that is the bottom line. If you have thought process and they are highly connected without any randomness, essentially you are the master in that particular subject. So I will give one more example with respect to the diffuse mode and historically how it has been used by people. So this is one example by Thomas Alva Edison, and this is a legend. I mean, there is no very you can say strong proof whether he was actually doing it or not doing, but this is a legend people used to say. So it is there in the in books, and people associate this particular diffuse mode thought process with the Edison. So what he used to do, essentially, he used to sit on a chair. This is a very comfortable chair. So he used to sit and he used to keep one bearing in his hand. So you sit and you hold one bearing in the hand, and you simply let your brain think in a very random way. So essentially what happens in this position, if you are relaxed and you are not putting any stress on your brain, there is a very good chance that you will go to sleep in some amount of time. So before you go to sleep and in between the sleep and the actual awakened state, between these two stages, there is a stage where your brain is actually randomly thinking, and you are not making any sense. Okay, so at that particular point, basically your brain is trying to make a lot of random connections, and in turn it is actually trying to make new ideas. And after that, simply you go to sleep. As soon as you go to sleep, your muscles will loosen out, and the bearing that you are holding in the hand, it will simply drop down. As soon the bearing drops, it is going to create a noise. So at that particular time, Edison used to wake up because there is a strong noise, and then that because of that noise, he is waken up. So as soon as he wakes up, he used to go back in the thought process, like what I was thinking before I fallen asleep. And from there, he used to get a lot of new ideas. And that's what people say that the invention that used to make, a large portion used to come from this particular practice he used to do on a regular basis. So this is a legend again, but after that people have done research around this, and they found out, yes, this actually happens. And random diffuse modes and random thoughts, they actually give rise to new ideas. And a lot of people, they actually do invention and come up with different ways to solve a problem. They actually move from the diffuse modes to focus mode and so on. So that's how they become expert. So learning for anyone is a combination of the diffuse mode and focus mode. Meaning whatever you are learning and then you go to sleep, those thoughts will keep on coming to your brain. And you, once you come back, again you try to focus, you will be on focus mode. So naturally, brain actually works in these two modes, diffuse mode and focus mode. But consciously, if you try to use these two modes and plan our studies in such a way that your brain goes from diffuse mode to focus mode in a back and forth manner, then actually your learning will become fast and very, very systematic, and you will learn a lot of new subjects, and also will get a lot of new ideas. So I will give one example here. This example is about reading a book. So suppose you got a new book, okay, and you want to read the book and learn what is there inside the book. So to start with, you simply read the title, okay. So once you read the title, then you simply give some random thoughts about the content. What should be the content just by reading the title. So essentially your brain is actually having a perception about the book. And there is as soon as you create a perception, you will have a curiosity, meaning lot of thought process will be coming up, and they will ask for the answer whether it is true or not. So essentially you are trying to create curiosity in your brain. And then if you go to your table of contents, then the reading will be not feeding the brain, but actually trying to answer the question of the brain. So those curiosity, now they are getting answers. And if there was mismatch in the thought process, it will get corrected. Essentially, here you are going into your focus mode. So you read the content very carefully and connect with your diffuse mode. So your diffuse mode is now getting more tight connections. Again, from there, you go to your topics in each chapter. So just go through the chapter and the topics, and then try to create some thought process around the chapter and topic. So based upon your previous knowledge and understanding, you will create some sense out of it without even reading the chapter. And you will have some perception about the content, like, okay, the author should have written in those so and so thing in this particular chapter. So with that perception, you go and read the topic, then you will have a, again, from the diffuse mode, you will, so there was no concrete thought process, but there were some vague ideas. Now, if you go from vague ideas to the actual text, then actual text is basically a very, very concise idea. So your thought process will go from the diffuse mode to focus mode, and you will have very crisp understanding of the topic. So you keep on doing that. So what you will see, like as you keep on reading, your perception is actually getting more and more clear about the content that is there in the book. And at any given point of the time, you will be in a position to articulate what you have read. And this is what is the most important thing. Whenever you read something, you should be able to articulate. If you are able to articulate, you are able to write your answers. You are able to, if you are asked to write some paragraph on that particular content, you are able to write that, because your articulation is basically along with your learning process. Otherwise, if you don't create your thought process, you just keep on reading, then articulation will become very difficult, because your brain has not actually taken them. So you have to read it again and again, and then after a lot of reading, you will actually become again expert in the topic, and then you are able to articulate. So these are two different ways through which you can do. Obviously, the first way is much faster and much comfortable than the second way, where you have to read the thing again and again. So we'll come to that reading part. How do we do repetitions, and what is the best way to repeat? But before that, one very, very important thing. about brain. So this is some scientific research people have done over mouse, I think. So what they have seen is the brain, while brain is actually actively learning something, then they have done this mapping and found out that some part of the brain, while the active learning was there, it was active, showing some actions there. But after that, once you are done with your activities and you are going to sleep, you are resting, at that particular time also some other portion of the brain is quite active. So from there, this evidence, people actually came to this conclusion that it's not that reading is important, but after reading, taking rest is also important. Because during the rest, whatever you have read is actually compiled by the brain. And in other words, basically whatever connection you have made, the brain is trying to make a better connection and make more stronger connections. And having deep sleep, taking rest while studying is very, very important for your better memory. So this is related to the brain activity. Why only reading is not important, but after the reading, some rest is also important. And that rest is not, you are not losing anything. Basically, whatever you have read, it is actually by the brain, it is getting compiled. So you need to give time to the brain so that it can compile the learned content. This another aspect of memory. When we are actually working, learning thing actively, talking to someone, chatting with your friend, everything is in your working memory. So that's how you get spontaneous. When you discuss, the response is spontaneous. Everything is in your working memory, because after that discussion, maybe after 5-10 minutes, if you try to think what you have discussed with your friend, you will not be able to memorize everything, because that was not in their long-term memory, it was in your working memory. And anything that is in the long-term memory can only be retrieved. Anything which is in the working memory, it simply evaporates in a small amount of time. So if you want to make a long-term memory, essentially we have to convert the working memory content into a long-term memory. And there are different mechanisms how to do that, how to learn in a very short period and then put them into a long-term memory so that you remember after a very long period also. So this is very important. That's how it is said that if you read something, then after maybe 24 hours, you remember only 5 to 10% of the content that you read. And that's why the revision is very important, and frequent tests are very important. Those things are there because it is simply to enhance your memory and enhance what you have learned so that it goes into your long-term memory. And then if it is there in the long-term memory, then only you are able to get benefit out of it for the rest of your life. If it is not there in their memory, then you are not going to get any benefit out of it. So that's why it is very important. Some techniques to memorize. So these are some very well-known techniques people know, but here what they have done is essentially they are emphasizing that you develop your own techniques. It's not like you learn the technique and then you can learn it, but you should develop your own technique, and these are some pointers how you should develop. So for example, sound. So something is similar sounding. So maybe if you want to remember certain word, but you don't remember exact spelling. So what you do, you try to find out a similar sounding word. And from the sound you convert it to you. So that similar sound is essentially something which already known to you, and there is no difficulty in retrieving that. No, if you connect something new to that particular thing which is already known through sound, similar sounding thing, then it is very easy to retrieve. Okay. And there is something like behavior. So something is behaving in one way, and if something else is also behaving in a similar way, so you can simply connect like, okay, this behaves in a similar way. So that way also you can actually recall things easily. Then it's structural. So suppose I'm giving this example of cation and anion. So cation is basically cat. So cat has got paws. So then cations are positive in charge. Like for example, anions. So anion means you try to see the sound from onion to anion. So the sound is matching. So you can quickly connect to onion from anion. And onion, if you cut onion, so you will tears will come out. So there is some, it's not something positive, it is negative. So anions are negative in charge. So that way, if you connect, make different thoughts and make them connection and then link with some sounding things, then essentially as soon as you say anion, you will immediately say it is negative charge. So this connection you have to create once in a life, and rest of the life you will keep on just using it without any mistake. Next time you will never ever make mistakes. Similarly, benzene ring. I mean, you can connect with some monkeys, 6 monkeys, and then holding their tails and so on. So that's how you can say the monkey is equal to your carbon and so on. So that's how you can memorize, and once you memorize, then you can basically create this structure in no time. So what it says, like some of the monkeys are holding only hand, and some of the monkeys are holding hand and on tail also. So this hand plus tail is equal to double one, and only hand is equal to single one. So that's how if you create the picture in your brain and then connect with benzene ring, then you will always remember them. So without any mistake. So these are the some kind of thing. Basically, you have to discover different metaphors. Then there are some memory palace concepts. So essentially, one thing, like whenever you remember some event, you also remember the place. You also remember the person. You also remember the environment, whether it was cold, summer, this, that, everything you remember along with the event. So now if you want to memorize the event, you connect that event with the location, environment, people. So you may forget the event, but you may remember the place. So as soon as you go to the place, immediately the next connection is to the event. Immediately you will be able to recall the event, and then you can say, yes, I remember that happened that way. So this is called memory palace. So essentially, idea is anything that is already known to you in a very, very uh, strong fashion. There is no chance to forget that. You connect new thing to that. So if you make a very strong connection of new thing with the known thing, then you will not forget the new thing also. You will remember the new thing. So this is one aspect. Then there is another aspect of memorizing thing. You remember things in a multiple way, so that if you forget one connection, there is another connection available in your brain, so through which you can go to the answer. So memory palace is another thing. So we'll talk about some more thing also in the next slides. But these are the visual different metaphors to connect your already existing known fact to the new fact, and through which remembering thing without making any mistake. So one more aspect to this, it is very, very strong connection. Like people have done a lot of research on this. Like if you are physically good, you are doing exercises, you are running, you are cycling and so on, then your memory is going to be much, much better than those people who are not physically active. So as I said, like last slide, taking rest and taking good sleep is important. At the same time, doing physical exercise is also very important for a better memory. And these two you can always connect with your earlier saying that healthy mind in healthy body. So physical exercise is for healthy body, and as soon as you have a healthy body, you have healthy brain. And one more thing I would like to connect here. Essentially, healthy body is not only exercise. Exercise is, can say, good habit, and lot of good habit will connect to your health. So having all good habits is equal to good health, and all good habit and good health is equal to good brain. And having good brain meaning you learn so many things, you remember so many things, you discover so many things, and you can do a lot of things. So if you want to do good thing, great thing in your life, essentially you have to take care of your body and your behavior. So now coming back to practice. So we'll talk about different ways to practice and some research related to practice, how to do, you can say, efficient practice, in the sense spending less time and effort and getting more. So this is very old saying, practice makes permanent. So the example is simple. You have a brick and mortar wall you have to create, and someone want to create the entire wall in a single way, and someone is laying some few layers in a day. So obviously the one which is like layer by layer, little every day, that will be much stronger. And you can say here in this case, it is the cement. Cement actually, as soon as you put water in cement, the chemical reaction will start, and it will take about 28 days to 35 days and so on, depending upon how much slowing agent we have put in. So it will take that much of time to settle about 99% or so, and rest 1% will keep on happening. So essentially, it takes time for the cement to create all the bonds, and then bond creation is slow process. In our brain, when you learn something, you are creating new thoughts and making connections. And thought means creation of new neurons. Essentially, as you keep on learning new thing, you are creating new neurons, and having strong ideas means having a very, very strong connection between all the new neurons that are formed. If they are not connected, then they are weak health wise, they will get destroyed automatically, and there won't be any trace of knowledge related to that particular aspect. So it is very important to have a consistent learning, little every day. If you try to learn in a single day, it is like collapsing the wall. The cement is not getting time to complete the reaction, and then load of the upper wall mortar and brick is going on the bottom one, and since it is not having strength, it will collapse simply. And similar happens when we learn a lot of things in a single night. When we are not giving time for the brain to actually make strong connections, so it will be there for some time in the memory, and after that there won't be neurons, there won't be connections. So you may be writing something in the next morning, but it will not be remaining there in your brain. So maybe you may get marks in the exam, but you will not get benefit of the knowledge that you have learned. So these are the two important things. Getting marks is important, but having that in memory in your brain for a long time so that you can reuse it, what you have learned. So that second part you will not get. So that's what it is. Once we learn something, it comes into our active memory. Then here we get new ideas. Then from there it goes to new working memory. And then we do a lot of practice around that new idea. So from this working memory through practice will go to the long-term memory. Once it is there in the long-term memory, then new ideas, whenever they come, this long-term memory will assist in creating new thought process, and that's how we come up with new ideas, new inventions, and so on. So it is very, very important to learn and put whatever is learned in a long-term memory so that we can reutilize, and that's how we actually solve our real life problem using what we have learned in school. We solve the problem after we go to job after graduation. So this one research paper I'm sharing, this link is given here, so you can actually go through it. Then this particular research, they are actually trying to understand what is the best way to do practice. Okay. So there are one traditional techniques. For example, you learn once. So you can see like it is very, maybe 5% or so it is there in brain. If you just learn once, and then if you try to recall again, then it goes to about 25-28%. And then if you learn once and then try to repeat, but the repetition is like in a single sitting. So for example, you open a chapter in the morning, until evening you read the chapter, say for example 10 times. So your retention is actually again very poor, say 25% only. It's not improving. However, if you repeat spaced, meaning you learn today and then tomorrow also you repeat the same chapter, then after that also you repeat the same chapter, and so on. So you keep on giving some gap in between, then it is found that after number repetition, your recall is improving and going about say 75-80%. So this is something you can say is there in our regular practice, and that's how teacher actually asks, that's how our parent asks. Whatever you have read, you try to revise them again and again, and since it works, so you can see it works. The problem here is you have to put a lot of effort. So in school days, it is feasible, you can do that, but after that, it is not feasible. I mean, reading the same thing again and again, and if you are having so many subjects and so on, then you are going to miss some of them. And as soon as you miss them, then your retrieval is dropped. So you can see the subject that you like the most and read the most, you score about 80% or so. And the subject that you don't like and don't read, then you will be about 30% and so on. So that's how it is. This is the how the traditionally things have been done. Now coming to two new techniques. One is the concept map and the other one is retrieval practice. The concept map essentially it says, I mean, this is new and then many people have been talking about this, and many people actually they practice also. But you can see the data, it is not as efficient as retrieval practice. So we'll talk about these two. So concept map is essentially what it says. When you read the chapter, you try to create a concept map, meaning you put the central idea in the center, and then related ideas you create as a branch and sub branch and so on. And all the possible relation you show as a branch, as a connection lines. So this is called concept map, and through which, since all the text is converted into a very nice structure map kind of thing. So people say like having a bird eye view of the entire thing is very easy through the map. You can have a very concise understanding of the entire thing. And also, the connection, like how they are connected and so on. So you can see like, yes, it works. Like from the traditional thing, if you see, it goes up to 60%. But beyond that, it is not going. So essentially, something is missed out while you are creating the concept map, and whatever you do, you are not going to improve it here. But retrieval practice is something which actually gives a lot of benefit here. So what is retrieval practice? Practice, it says that as soon as you learn some chapter, you try simple one line answers, or you can say yes, no kind of answers. So you try to learn retrieve through questions. So you read the question and then try to answer the question. Okay, so maybe yes, no types question, then maybe short answer type questions. And then after that, you go to little longer types of questions. So you don't keep on reading the same thing again, but you try the question, and once you feel like my questions answers are not correct, then you go and read that particular portion of the book. So that your concept is clear for that particular question. And if you do sufficient amount of practice through questions, then it is seen that in a very small period of time, you will have a retrieval about 80%, 75 to 80%, and also it will be there in a long-term memory. So this is one new technique, and people are actually now trying this, since doing practice with lot of question is not feasible in traditional books nor in a traditional question test that we are having. So people are trying to have online tests now. So you learn something and then you go to online tests, and then you do 50 question, 100 question and so on. You keep on doing. And after that, you will see that you know almost everything, whatever you have learned. And as soon as you keep on doing this practice, your error goes down and your percentage improvement is improved like anything. So it is very fast, very effective technique, retrieval practice. And that's to give some example, like Khan Academy, they have used this technique, and it is very, very successful, I would say. A lot of students are actually getting benefit from Khan Academy, especially in terms of learning mathematics. So I have few more ideas to discuss. So let me cover them also, then we'll come to question and answers. So this is for those people who are in a project planning or who are little mature, are learning books, new books and so on. So this is the idea of chunking. So how it works? So you take a big picture, and you can imagine the big picture is like jigsaw puzzle. So entire big picture can be broken into small parts. And then when you take one small part, you focus on it. Okay. Till the time you become expert into it. And then go to the next part and so on. So once you are done with that, essentially the next task is to connect everything together and create the big picture again. So essentially, From the book, you learn, and while you are learning, you break the entire content into a small thing and learn them individually, one after other. And then once you have learned, then you forget the book and try to recreate everything. So this is like solving a big problem. So suppose you are given a big problem, you take the problem and break into small portions. And then if you have a team, so assign the task to the team, they will complete that task. Then you bring back everything together and try to create the entire project. So here, one very important aspect is once you are doing this, taking the big picture and then focusing on one small chunk at a time, and then reusing it, you have to remember the context. So if you don't remember the context, you are going to put the chunk in the wrong place, like a zigzag puzzle. So maybe you will see like all those shapes, they may be same. However, they one shape will fit here and the same shape will fit somewhere else. So if you don't remember the context, if you don't link the context with the chunk, then you're going to put the same thing in the wrong place. For example, if you remember some formula in a physics, and if you don't remember exactly when not to use and when to use this particular formula, there is a very good chance that you are going to use the formula in a wrong place. Okay, and eventually we'll get wrong answers. So essentially learning chunk, mastering the chunk is very important. At the same time, knowing the context is important than that. So along with the context, you have to learn, and the context will help you to put that particular chunk in an appropriate place. So you can imagine like chunk to the big picture through the context is kind of a bottom up approach. And then from taking the big picture and breaking into chunks along with context is the top down approach. And then people use this. So suppose you are an expert in something, you are getting a new book, new article to learn, you will try to use your top down approach. But if you are a new learner, you don't know anything about it. For example, you are starting from ABCD. So you will not start from the top. You will start from the bottom. You will start ABCD and then single words and then so on and so forth. So essentially you are actually working on chunks, and also you are at the same time you are learning how to use this particular chunk through grammar, through rules and so on. So so for new learners, we use this bottom up approach, and then for some already known mature person, they will use this top down approach. Both are important. For new thing, you use small learning and then put things together to make big thing. So this is the chunking approach. So we'll whenever we take any big thing or you have to learn new thing, we should actually use this technique. It's very effective. Break things into pieces and then focus one at a time and very systematically, and then put things through the context and make a big picture out of it. So now coming to the behavioral thing, this plus next slide we'll talk about some behavioral thing. One is committing mistake and the other one is procrastination. So addressing mistakes is one very important aspect while we are actually learning and sitting in exams. So if you try to understand the mistakes, so why we actually get less marks. So there are different reasons for that. But if you assume that since you have put a lot of time, you have put almost 1 year in learning things, you have done a lot of practice and so on. So so we can assume that you know the subject. Still, if you are not getting the marks, meaning you are committing mistakes. So you will see like your mistakes are actually causing your reduction in marks. So if you focus on the mistake, then they are essentially of two things. One is the type of mistake, the other one is the number of mistakes. So if you try to count, their number of mistakes will be huge. So you will see, if you try to see closely, you will see that you are committing the same mistake almost every day. So if you just count in almost in every paper, almost in almost all of the questions. So if you see like the same mistake is coming again and again, and that is causing your disaster. But if you see the type of the mistake, they will be like very limited in number, maybe not more than 2-digit number, very small, maybe 10-20 types of mistakes. But those 10-20 type of mistake, they are coming again and again, and they are causing all the problem. So here what we have to do is, as soon as we commit any mistake and we see that my answer is wrong, do not ignore it. Keep it in a very in a separate notebook and keep in front of you, and try to do it for some time, maybe for a month or so. And then once you have collected good number of mistakes, then try to work on it. So basically you have to put some time and try to understand your mistakes and try to segregate which is the different type of the mistakes. So you will from the all the mistakes that you have committed, you will try to segregate in the type. So for example, some of them will be from the mathematics, some of them will be from physics, some of them from the chemistry, some of them will be from English, and so on. Some of them will be spelling mistakes, some of them will be grammatical mistakes, some of them may be some wrong formula, you know. So basically you will get all of them, and then you segregate them in a systematic way in the different types. Okay. And then along with the type, you will cite the example saying that what you have done the wrong thing and what was the wrong and what is the correct. So along with wrong, you will put also the correct one. So essentially you are going to create a list of the mistakes that you commit and the what was the wrong thing and what was the correct thing, and then keep it with you. You should start your day with that particular diary. Okay. So suppose if you put about 5 to 10 minutes just going through that particular diary, there is a very good chance that after some time you will remember all your mistakes. And remembering mistake is basically the first way to avoid the mistake. So if you don't remember your mistake, you will not be able to avoid the mistake. So if you remember, you will be able to. So as soon as that particular type of question, that particular type of grammar comes in front of you, you immediately remember your mistake and then consciously avoid the mistake. So if you do it for some time, you will see like your marks are improving like anything. Very, very drastic change. And this I am sharing my personal experience. So at least one proof I have with this. So maybe in question answer, we'll discuss on this if someone has some more question. And the last topic is the procrastination. Procrastination is like talmotol. Basically, we know that we have to do, we want to do, but we don't do. Okay. And we slip and try to do something which is more pleasing. So why it happens when someone knowingly, like I know that I have to do it, this is important, and everything that is required is there in front of me, still I don't do it. So why it happens is basically the essence of this procrastination is the unhappy feeling. You don't feel excited about it, you don't feel happy about it, and because you don't feel happy, you don't feel excited, your attention is diverted to something which is giving you some happy kind of feeling. Okay. Maybe temporarily, but you get diverted to that particular thing. And as soon as you get diverted, you start doing that thing, and you don't actually consciously account that you will spend a lot of time doing something which is not important. And this becomes the basic root cause for the procrastination. So how to handle this problem? So handling this problem is like it is I mean, in the research, people have found that this is just a feeling. It's not that you are not able to do that. So it's just a feeling. So people like they have done this research saying when math hurts, meaning math anxiety predicts pain network activation in anticipation of doing. Matlab, you just feel that yes, I am going to do mathematics, and that mathematics is boring and so on. With that feeling only, you get your pain network activation. You don't feel comfortable. You feel like something is problematic. Is some pain in stomach, some headache is there, this, that. So you know this is all not real. This is just anticipation. So this comes because of anxiety of mathematics. Here they have done this research with respect to mathematics, but it can be with anything. So this research, people have found that this feels, and but if the person starts doing mathematics, then the person will actually start solving the problem. It's not like he does not know how to do mathematics. Only thing is not feeling good about it. He's not feeling happy about it. So that is the problem. It's all about feelings. So how to manage that? that feeling aspect. So then we have this technique, it's called Pomodoro technique. What it says is, the problem is with the feeling, it's nowhere actually. So you play with the feeling actually. Okay, so that is the idea. It's purely psychological. You yourself play with your feelings. How to do that? So you take this timer, it can be any timer. I'm just showing this for this namesake, but you can put timer in your mobile phone also. So you say yourself that, yes, I'm going to learn this particular subject for next 25 minutes. And between these 25 minutes, there should not be any interruptions. Okay. You put your mobile phone, this, that, everything away from you and focus for 25 minutes. And then you set yourself that I'm going to reward myself. Okay. And that reward could be anything. I mean, it can be simple work, it can be simple having tea or anything. But you say yourself, because that is the factor, you have to actually you have to put your brain to think that I'm going to get something that I like. Okay. And with that cast, you are going to ask your brain that, yes, you are going to work this. After that, you will get your this one reward. So and in between you don't have any interruptions, so you start working, and then as soon as this your timer rings, you stop working, and then give yourself reward. Don't cheat yourself. So what will happen? Actually, what will happen? You have done with the task for 25 minutes, and obviously in 25 minutes you will get some achievement also. So as soon as you get some achievement, you are going to get good feeling. As soon as you get good feeling along with the reward, you get more good feeling. So the problem of this unhappy feeling is actually taken care. And if you do this practice for some time, this unhappy feeling will go away, and you happily will start working with the task. And this Pomodoro technique, that's how it actually helps in procrastination. So someone says like it's very bad, it's should not be there, and so on. So on. It's not like that. Actually, the thing is, as a human, we have to do so many things. Every person almost does some 20, 50 things every day. And the problem is we can do only one thing at a time. It's not like you can do 10 things at a time. So as a human, this is how it happens. You have to do only one thing at a time. So as soon as you do one thing at a time, rest of the thing you are actually you are putting to wait. Okay. So we always do this. We put other thing to wait and do one thing. So essentially, procrastination is part of our life. However, if you avoid something which is very important and which is going to cause a lot of harm to you in future, then that is basically harmful. We should avoid that and then focus on something which is important. So essentially, you have to dynamically do this. Anything which is important today may not be important tomorrow, and so on. So you have to realize what is important. You have to put your effort. And if it is not happening, then use this Pomodoro technique to put your effort into the important thing and solve that problem. So this is the procrastination and reasons and how to solve this problem. Then we have these two, again, psychological thoughts only. One is Einstein. It is a German term. Basically, it's called attitude, and it is very simple thing. The thing is, if you are expert into something, for any damn thing, you will try to put your expertise to solve that problem. But there may be possible that there is a very simple solution existing. For example, this very famous story is there, NASA space pen. So, I mean, you have seen this in 3 Idiot movie also. So they have developed this pen in 1 million R&D cost, which is able to write in space. But Russian, they use pencil actually. So pencil was able to do exactly the same thing what pen was doing. So you know that pencil costs nothing as compared to $1 billion. So there is a simple solution to the problem, but you are putting a lot of effort to solve the problem using very high-tech thing, putting a lot of time and money, energy, and so on. So this is an attitude problem. So try to be simple and try to find the simplest solution first. there is a good chance that you have solution already. So try to find that first before putting a lot of effort in solving the big problem. Okay, that big problem may not be actually a big problem. So that is a one psychological thing. And second is like imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is like, so till now we have been talking about doing things and so on. But it so happens many times some students are very good. They are doing great. But they don't feel that they are great. And they always say like, oh, this happened. I could pass the exam because my friend was there. I could do this because my parents were there. I could do that because someone was there, but I don't have that capability. So uh, basically, this should not be there. If you have done this, actually you have done this. Simple, and you should have pride in that, and you should have confidence also. Yes, I can do it again if I get the same problem. And there are certain reasons why it happens. I mean, that is subjective. But the thing is, if someone has got this problem, this is imposter syndrome. So essentially, you have to think that it's not mere chance. If you have passed the exam, you have passed the exam. If you are a doctor, you are a doctor. If you are an engineer, you are an engineer. It's like everything cannot be happening there just by chance. So essentially, you have the capability, and you should feel about it. Yes, I have the capability. I can do it again. So if someone has got this, you should come out of it, because if you don't come out of it, you will not be trying the next challenge. You will feel that, yes, whatever has happened by chance. I cannot do it, a new thing. So it is important to come out of it so that you can take the next challenge, the big problem to solve. So with this, I think, yes, keep learning, keep doing great thing. I would like to stop at this point. If there is any question, we can discuss.
Sir, may I?
Yes, please.
Sir, in Pomodoro technique, suppose we fix the time of 25 minutes duration, that after 25 minutes, we will reward with something which we feel happy.
Yes.
But and till 25, we will focus only on the work.
Correct.
But still in these 25 minutes, if we still thinking about the rewards only, then again it's cause then this will we can't focus in this way.
Correct. So you have to see, I said no interruption. So you have to keep the reward also a little away. So just focus on this, and reward will come only when you complete the task of 25 minutes. So I mean,
Okay.
this much you have to control. So if you keep on thinking about the reward, but the reward was for the work, not for the thinking. So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay.
Suppose and one more question related to this, suppose after 25 minutes, if I still want to continue that work, so whether I have to stop or go for reward or continue my work.
So actually, this is very important. I said, like, do not cheat yourself. This is very important. So if you said yourself that I'm going to give reward, you should do that. Otherwise, what will happen next time if you try to do that? So then your thought will counter your thought, saying last time you didn't get the reward. So see, the idea is to convert your unhappy feeling into happy feeling. So it's not about the task; it's about feeling. So you have to make yourself happy for this particular work. Okay. So if you have committed yourself, you should meet that. You should not cheat yourself.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
One question.
Yes.
Uh, so, uh, so if at all we will give rewards to our kids, what we should do? I mean, so if at all we are giving rewards to kids, will it be possible that they will be much more familiar or comfortable with the rewards, and they will do the things just because they will get some kind of rewards after some kind of activity? So what should be the best practice or way why that we can motivate our kids or our juniors to do something in that particular manner? So giving rewards for yourself, it's fine. But what about if at all somebody want to give rewards to someone, like for our kids also? So then what is the way?
Okay. So essentially, here I was talking about dealing with yourself. I mean, here no one else is there, only you are there, and you are actually trying to manage. So suppose you are having teacher, you are having parent, or if the parent or teacher is having a student or kids, then how they can take this particular thing. So essentially, like for parent and kids, is very common practice. They try to say like you complete this particular exercise or study for 1 hour, then you go to play and so on. I think this is already there, and some of the teachers after test and so on, they distribute chocolates and so on. So I think this reward concept is already there. Only thing is we have to balance, like in the sense it should not be like if you don't give chocolate, then a student is not going to do anything. So it should not be like that. You have to balance. I mean, we have to simply make everything a very, very positive environment. That is the motivation here. And interest we have to generate. Otherwise, once the interest is gone, then everything is gone. So bottom line is to maintain positive environment and interest in learning and in doing things. So I think I don't have any ready answer, because from one situation to other we can adopt. But the idea is you should, as a parent or as a teacher, you should facilitate the reward functionality and try to create a positive environment. And this fear factor, the idea is to remove the fear factor, and from the fear, you have to get some, good feeling out of it.
Assalamualaikum. So whatever technique you talk about, right? So it is for, I think, it's for a short time of learning. What about the long term of learning? For example, I have a learning course of 24 hours or 30 hours or 30 days. So once you get started, right, in between you get unfocused on the task, or you feel boring. How to avoid this kind of situation? If the learning curve is more, it will take 30 days of time to learn it.
So I've not covered it here. So there are few things in that particular process. So if you are having in this mode, like you are going to learn for a few months or 1 month focused learning, then one of the aspect is, and it may not be possible for everyone, but one of the aspect is to find some friend also along with you. And once you are done with your learning, for example, say a few hours you have done, and then maybe you sit with your friend, and while you are talking with your friend, you talk about what you have learned, because he is also learning. So it is found that if you are having very good conversation with someone around the topic that we have learned, then it solves two problems. One, it is actually your content is revised, and you may get some ideas from your friend which you have not thought of it. Second, this boring thing, because you are alone, now you are talking to someone, this boring thing is actually is taken care to a very good extent, and it becomes more engaging and more and then next thing is like when you are learning, you will also keep on thinking like, we'll discuss with my friend around this. So this learning and along with discussion, and then planning for the discussion, it actually gives you kind of a energy to get engaged into the learning part. But suppose if you don't have any test, you don't have any discussion with someone, you don't have to, after the learning, you don't have any plans like what I'm going to do with the learning, then essentially there is no motivation there, and loss of motivation actually gets into boring thing. So this is one very well proven technique people try. Having good friends, then your learning will be really enjoyable.
Hello, excuse me. Assalamualaikum. Actually, in my experience, I can remember numerical values better than the names. For example, if anybody is saying his name, first time introducing his name, I cannot remember at first time itself, but if anybody is telling any number, I can remember. Is there any theory like that? And also, if it is there, is there any technique to improve my memory in that case?
Okay, so remembering name is a very nice thing. This problem comes with so many people. So one of the first person is the teacher. So teacher has to remember about, let's say, 20-30 names every year. Okay, because every year he is going to get new student. And then next challenge for them is they have to remember the past student also, because they will come after some time. And for them the challenge to recognize and remember the name. So you will see like teachers are generally very good in learning, remembering the name and face. So how they do that? So the idea to remember the name is, as soon as you ask for the name or someone tells you the name, you at least for next 3-4 minutes, you in your conversation, you try to keep on repeating the same thing. So suppose someone is like Abdullah. So the first you learn that, okay, he is Abdullah, then you next few sentences you try to use Abdullah in each sentence. Okay, so how are you? Start saying you, Abdullah bhai, you say. Okay, and from where you are, you don't say you are. From Abdullah bhai, from where you are. So you keep on saying the same name, and in your first meeting itself, try to repeat the name few times. Okay, and this is the first you will actually put everything in your memory, and you will remember after some practice, inshallah.
Sure.
This is well
And
proven.
one more thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there any courses you can suggest for this topic?
Yeah, so I think maybe I think looks like you joined little late. So this particular presentation that I am talking about, this is based on a course by Coursera. It is a free course. Okay. This course is by Barbara Oakley. Okay. So this is on Coursera, and then Barbara Oakley has got some other courses, and in each lecture, she will be giving you at least 20-30 different references. So if you're really curious, you go to the course, you will find a lot of reading material, lot of other things. And everything is around this only, learning only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Exactly.
How to stop procrastination? I think we discussed about this, no? The reason is like we don't feel happy. So basically, you have to convert your feeling from unhappy to happy feeling, and the mechanism we discussed. So you have to do that practice. Inshallah, you will be able to stop it. Okay, this page is, yes, I checked it. It's not available. Let me find it out. Or else you can just search it. As they have moved it to some other place, looks like.
Sir, will you be able to share with us your email ID?
My email ID.
Yes, sir.
Let me put in the chat. Yes, I have put my email ID here.
Chandra, one more question.
नीचे बैठ के उतरने दो।
हेलो
नहीं तो हल्लू उतरो, अब हुआ उतरो, हल्लू थोड़ा डोंगा है हल्लू।
हेलो
हाँ
Yes, sir.
हाँ राइट हाँ
yes
हाँ खतरा है थोड़ा। हाँ फिसलेंगे वो नीचे। हाँ डोंगा है थोड़ा। हाँ
I have one question to you. Just I want to know about that. This you can conduct this question in the Hindi form, so people will get it. Please.
Achha, okay. I think
Unmute. So someone is unmute, so please just make them mute.
okay.
थोड़ा रुकते हैं क्या?
Request to host, please mute this. Please go ahead now.
Yes, I was just asking to you.
नहीं नहीं कुछ नहीं, क्या बहुत दूर है। चलो
Yes, sir. I have a questions. Just you can conduct it in the Hindi form, where most of the Muslim, student will get help. So yeah.
Yes,
So basically,
just let me know. I can repeat it everything in Hindi. No problem.
no, basically, who are just learning your sessions. So just they will, what they will ask to you. They are. I
Correct.
have a question
Actually,
that.
what happened, this MFIRD, this forum, we have participants from across India. So all of them are not well in Hindi. So that's why this particular MFIRD forum we do in English. So suppose if you want this in Hindi and your participants all are in Hindi, so we can have a separate session. Inshallah, I can do it again.
Okay, Jazakallah. Okay.
Yeah, Dilshad, one more question. Can I ask?
Ji.
Yeah. So whenever there is a lot of course on the internet for how to learn it, you found it in LinkedIn or Coursera or Udemy. So it is very difficult to remember for long time. Okay. So how do you remember these things? So I also go through some of the course in LinkedIn, how to learn it or other course. But for me personally, it is very difficult to remember for long run. Do you have any technique to remember this?
So, frankly speaking, I mean, we see this as a problem. Forgetting we see as a problem. We should not forget things. But actually, this is a natural process. We do forget things, and sometimes it is good also, because that's why you learn new things. But not having any clue, that is a difficult problem, because then it is almost gone, completely gone. So what I do is, whenever we learn something, so I maintain a folder. Okay, learning is like I name the folder learning, and anything I try explore, or any course I learn, or anything I do, I will try to create a subfolder inside with all the details. And if there is a content, like some video is there, I will try to download and keep it there. Okay, and whenever it comes next time, I will first look at my folder. Okay, so most of the time it so happens I have done something and forgotten, but it is there in the folder. So if I search, I find that okay, yes, I have done some 2-3 years back. So whatever the idea is here, whatever you have done earlier, remembering that is easier than something which is completely new. So you start with something you know. So idea is simple. Whatever you learn, any courses, you restore the link of the course. You store the reading material, videos in your local folder. And next time when you think of that thing, you try to search there only. And if you see like, yes, I have done it earlier. So if you just go through it, you will remember almost everything in no time. So we completely forget if we don't have any clue. It's just completely gone out of our head, like where I have done and what I have done. So, if you keep at least one clue with you, you can retrack everything back.
One more question I have. Just can we convert your session English into the Hindi? So just I want to take permission from your side.
Yes, I can do. I said, I think.
No.
No. Actually, just I want to know, you don't need to convert it. Just I can convert it from a software.
Yes, please do it.
I have experience.
Please do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
See, this entire thing is for general good. Okay. Because if you learn something, you use it, you will get benefit out of it. And benefit should not be with you only. Everyone should get benefit out of it. So just share it, and whatever you want to do, just do it. It's not, none of them is proprietary. I have all taken from somewhere. Basically, I learned it from some course which is already free, and then I'm just giving it to free.
Jazakallah khair.
Shukran. जी. So, Abrar bhai, looks like if don't have much question now, so we can conclude.
Thank you, Dilshad bhai.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Walhamdulillah. Ji.
My question is, this kind of learning how to learn this method or this technique is applicable all kind of subjects. For example, we are learning lots of subjects in our life, like maths, like history, like geography, or for example, we are learning any language like French, like Arabic. This language we are speaking, we are communicating to others, and other language like a programming language, for example, Python. We have Python, we learn, we practice, and we implement in the project. So for different kind of subjects we learn in our life. So this method or this techniques is applicable all kind of subject, or this technique is varied to for subject to subject.
So answer to your question is like at high level, like how our brain works and how things move from temporary memory to short-term memory to long-term memory. So those kind of things, they almost remain the same. They don't change. However, when it comes to practicing things, because history is different, maths is different. So the practice of history will be different, and then practice of mathematics will be different, and so on.
Exactly.
So you have to adopt different practice methodology. However, some of the techniques, as I said, mass repetition versus space repetition versus retrieval through questions. It is very common. I mean, it is whether it is grammar or it is mathematics or it is some language, other language. If you do practice, you will see that your understanding is increasing like very fast than just repeating things. So some of the things are very core, and the form may change. How you practice is different, but you have to do practice. There is no alternate to that. Similarly, if you say someone says like, okay, what about games? So if you want to practice football, so what will happen? So you will see like there you have to adopt different technique how to practice, but practice by itself is required even there also. In this situation, I will position my foot like this and I will kick like this and so on. Those things you have to really do practice, and all sorts of possibilities you have to go through. Then only you will be able to excel when the actual match is there. Yeah. So should we conclude, Abrar bhai? I think it looks like there is no more question. Yeah, Abrar bhai, should we conclude?
Assalamu alaikum, sir. I had one simple question.
Yes, sir.
Which is more preferable, like individual learning or group learning? Which is more effective according to you?
Correct. So individual learning you have to do. There is no alternate to that. However, along with the individual learning, if you have a good group where you maintain the discipline, in the sense your discussion should not go beyond your subject. So if you are able to maintain the discipline, then you should go for the group discussion and group learning. And if it so happens like in the group, you start doing mathematics and then you start discussion and then discussion goes into some other direction, then you should avoid those kind of group learnings. So group learning is kind of a conditional. If it is a good group, it is very, very effective. And in the group, actually, we learn much faster and we get more perception of the single idea. Because so many people will be thinking in a different way. But if that group is not working, then you go for individual learning. However, individual learning must be there. Only group will not work.
Okay, sir. Sure. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, Abrar bhai. Welcome. So I think looks like Arbab Rai is busy, looks like. So let me conclude myself. So thank you very much for your time and a lot of good questions. Inshallah, maybe sometime we'll come with some new topic and we'll have some discussion. Inshallah. Jazakallah.
Thanks.
Assalamu alaikum.